said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? The average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. Hiring Brooke means absolutely no call goes unanswered, boosting your customer satisfaction and reducing your overhead costs. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend.
Necessary, whether to a service advisor, roadside assistance, or a live agent. And I can do it without missing a beat.
You really do check all the boxes. Book with Brooke today.
Recently, we were concerned about our recon time and decided to look into reconditioning workflow software. After doing our research, I can confidently say we finally found the software that was right for us. We love that it packs robust data, control precision, clear communications, and performance accountability, all onto my desktop or mobile, so I'm always in touch. Before this, we manually tracked our recon process. We just assumed we were doing okay. We were wrong. After someone in my 20 group told me he used this software to improve his recon time to sale to just 3 to 5 days, I just had to look into it. Their team of recon experts all have hands-on dealership experience. We all benefit from faster time to line, inventory turns, and competitive advantages. To learn more, visit rapidrecon.com.
Alrighty, so from a point of view of slides, obviously sponsor an AutoHub show episode today. From a point of view of books, I picked 3. So Becoming Bulletproof from Evie Pumperas, and it's a person who is a special agent in the United States Secret Service. If you haven't read Can't Hurt Me from David Goggins, you need to buy this book. Let me repeat. One of the best books I've read in the last 5 years. Guy is a beast, but more importantly is not only a Navy SEAL, he's an Army Ranger, and he failed the Navy SEAL test like 3 times and still kept going at it, so very interesting. And then Powerful Phrases for Dealing with Difficult People by Renee Evanson. Really good book as well. Go ahead with your disclaimer, Jeff.
As usual, of course, the views and opinions of everybody appearing on the AutoHub show don't necessarily reflect those views and opinions of Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo or officially of the AutoHub show. And that's pretty good. But of course, if we say it, then those are our opinions.
Exactly. And then, it's a special extended month-end show, so we're going to have Lou and Fred from the Car Guys and Coffee. They're going to be a little late today, but we do have Tiffany on today, and we'll hopefully have some more people. Obviously, it's month-end. It's a little hard to get... Oh, here we go. We got Larry. It's hard to get people a month end, as we know, in the car business because the world comes to an end at the end of every single month. But we're still going to have a very fun discussion, of course. So let's go into it. So, Jeff, maybe you can talk a little bit about our Las Vegas appearance behind us, and then we'll get into some questions and some discussion.
Well, for the first time ever, NADA will not know what hit them because once we're showing up there, and we're going to be spending some time at a couple of different booths. We've been invited to interview dealers at Poly and other people that come by. And of course, Ian will be splitting his time between his day job. Hello, Larry.
How are you, sir?
And the show, and I'll be walking around doing my roving reporter thing, and we're going to call this PMZ instead of TMZ while I see who's what where, and and you find the dealers going and hiding their face, and you see them talking to somebody else, or the executives talking to the senior executives at some other group or whatever. So it should be very interesting. We're excited.
Yeah, so just so you know, we will be putting up a schedule on our website, and that will be at Dealer Poly booth, which is going to be one of the bigger booths of the show. I'll be at the NABDAT booth, which is next to Tekion, and of course we'll also be visiting our sponsor booth, whether it be Rapid Recon or Brook.ai. Jeff's going to have our newest toy, which is a 4K camera and a roving microphone, so we're going to be doing interviews. In addition to that, we will be putting up shows where we have a number of different spots. We're doing a live show. We're still figuring out some of the tech, but it'll be basically a live podcast at the Dealer Poly booth. So if you're at the show, definitely come check us out. And of course, if you're at the show and you have a party that you'd like us to attend, definitely reach out to Jeff, because I hear he wants to hit all the parties at the show.
Oh, listen, I got to tell you something. Shaquille O'Neal has invited me, and J-Lo and Ben Affleck have invited me, but I turned them down because I want to go to the one where Vanilla Ice is at. So, hey, Bill.
You're muted, Bill. So why don't we start, since we have an early start anyway, let's start with just everyone on the show introducing themselves, since we've got the time, and it's obviously month end. We're going to have Fred and Lou in a little bit later because they had a conflict for the start time. But go ahead, Tiffany.
All right, thanks guys. I appreciate you guys having me back again today. Tiffany Keeler, VP of Sales with Proactive Dealer Solutions. Just excited to be a part of the show again. Super excited for NADA and our big announcements around our digital voice assistant for service, Brook.ai.
Cool.
I do have a question before we continue. So Tiffany, we need to arrange for a show where our guest is Brooke. Let's really see if Brooke can handle our questions, huh?
We might be able to make that happen. We might have to hire an actress for you, but we'll bring her out to the show and call her Brooke. Why not?
Well, there's an episode of Big Bang Theory where, if you're a fan, Raj fell in love with Siri, and Siri called him sexy, and then he actually discovered the room where Siri is.
yeah, I've seen the episode. I love that show.
Oh, yeah.
These days, I actually answer when called Brooke. People do that to me on calls all the time. They'll just accidentally call me Brooke, and at this point, I'm just answering to it. Why not?
Exactly.
So, Larry, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Certainly. I am humbly the United States most efficient recruiter and trainer.
Okay.
Notice, Bill, I said humbly. I wouldn't want to be confused with not being humble. These fine gentlemen, Tiffany and Bill, were kind enough to have me on their show. Seeing as how I'm currently in shyness aversion training, I started to torture the only guy on these shows crazier than me, John Kostakis. And apparently I am now coming up to Canada the first week of April to do a seminar.
Oh, rock and roll.
If you think you've had diplomatic problems so far with the United States, wait till I get up there. There will be an international incident not seen since Margaret Trudeau slept with Ron Wood of the Rolling Stones. So,
where are you going to be at,
tune in for
Larry?
the show after that, Bill. Long story short, if I look extra giddy, and I'm sorry I'm casual, I was trying to complete my workout and go to put my suit on, but I just picked up Greenway Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Florence, Alabama, because the somebody from another dealership in another state recommended me, and it looks like I just picked up Matthews Key in Georgia for text because, believe it or not, a guy took a liking to me when I was doing Woodstock, Georgia. So I guess, Bill, the answer is what we always tell our salespeople, that if you get off your butt and you realize everything's an opportunity and you let everybody know who you are and what you do and where you do it, there's plenty of business, there's plenty of opportunity, despite what you heard about Carvana eating the world. And I did that all in one breath. You got to admit, that was pretty impressive for a beat-up old car guy.
Absolutely. And last but not least, William or Bill Camastro, maybe you had some thoughts on the Cadillac world.
First off, let me just check, make sure I'm unmuted. So am I good there? Okay.
Yeah,
Secondly, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be with you guys. And I'm not going to be at NADA. I do recognize most of the people on this call. Great to be part of this group. I can't go to NADA for a number of reasons, most of all because I'm closing on a new home.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. But the world of Cadillac is very interesting, to say the least. We are doing extremely well, to say the least. But again, our lot looks like you could land an aircraft carrier. Actually, they could have had all of the 18-wheelers that you had blocking Ottawa a few weeks ago. You could put them all on my lot and have room to get around them. So that's kind of where we're at. What's amazing is we're less cars to sell and more money been made. So it's just an odd time.
Well, I think there's some out of work truckers and some pissed off truckers. You should get them to park their trucks and trailers there, and then you could have truckload sale all down the side and watch everybody come in.
So Jeff, I mean, obviously we had some questions, but I guess the one that sort of came up last week on a used car call I was on was obviously the biggest news going on, the acquisition in the car business, which is ADESA got bought by Carvana. So maybe we can start with that. What do you think the move is there, and how do you think that's going to change everything? And let's start with Bill. What do you think?
Well, having had a few conversations with some industry people who know more than I do, some of the things I think that they're looking at, obviously, and we had this conversation. They need to get into the other side of the business, which is to be able to recondition their cars. Obviously, they don't make enough money on the mechanical side, so they're trying to supplement their income there. It'll give them storage, which they need, obviously, and it'll probably give them more of a when you get a car from Carvana and you press a button and the car shows up, you have no idea where the car is coming from, right? So it'll give them the ability to operate more regionally instead of nationally. If it were like they're not some foreign entity in the cyber world, they'll have locations, in certain regions of the country. I think ultimately, I don't see them using every one of the locations that they bought. I wouldn't be surprised if they close a few of them down, and to eliminate some of their competition on the other side of it. So I think those are some of the dynamics that we'll be dealing with. Whether it improves their business model or not, it remains to be seen. They've certainly spent a lot of money to make it make sense. But I think in a nutshell, here's the thing that they're dealing with, and this is why I think, my opinion, why the stock is tanked on a lot of these online buying services. During COVID, it was low hanging fruit. Obviously, we were having trouble getting cars. And, it was a little bit easier for them to become a player in the market. People didn't want to leave their homes and cars were delivered right to their front doorstep. Okay. Right. But now that things are opening up a little bit and the auctions are live as well as online, what people are finding out is, let me just give an example. So the big reason for people going to Carvana or to Vroom was to not have the car dealership experience like the ugly commercials they show on TV, right? You're stuck in a dealership all weekend, or you're there for 4 or 5 hours. But let me just paint the picture, if I could, in your heads. So you order a car today from Vroom, and it takes you 10 minutes to make a decision. I would subscribe to the fact that that's probably not a good decision because you made it in 10 minutes. But more importantly, so a day or two later, the car shows up at your house. Let's say a day or two later, a rock hit the windshield on the vehicle when it was on the transporter. Or it wasn't the same red you thought it was when you saw the picture. Or there's a tear on the interior. Or if you go on the websites and you look at Carvana cars, they actually make note of where the car has a ding or a dent or a tear or whatever. So when the car shows up, it's very subjective how you see it, just like any other car that they buy, right? They're not immune from the weather. They're not immune from rocks. They're not immune from perception. So now the car shows up 2-3 days later. So now you're 3 days into that process that takes 2 or 3 hours at a dealership that you didn't like. Then you decide, let's say you decide, because a certain percentage of the customers decide, I don't want this car, I want a different one, or I want my money back. Then what happens? Because now the car is going back 2 or 3 days. Your money definitely isn't coming back to you the minute you say that. And now to avoid a 2 or 3 hour, what you used to be considered a marathon in a car dealership has become a 5, 6 day or 2 week process, and you still don't have the car you want. So that's, I think the consumers are now beginning to see the reality of, yeah, so I didn't have to talk to a salesperson, but look at all the other entanglements I've now created for myself behind that. And you only need a small percentage of the populace that has those negative experiences to start going online and lighting your hair on fire, which I think is what's happened. And people are beginning to realize that relationships do matter. And you're not going to, although the digital part of our business speeds the flow of information and it gives you the ability to compare without being, inhibited or affected. But at the end of the day, once you make a decision, relationships to deliver become the most important things. And Carvana and Vroom are not going to have the ability to do that with a guy who drives an 18-wheeler who wants to drop off his merchandise and make it to the next stop in a very efficient amount of time. So sorry to take up so much time on that.
Bill, having worked in F&I and most of the front end positions in a dealership, I know that the last person that the customer sees is generally the one they call.
Right.
And so, of course, if you've got somebody like your delivery driver, and up here we don't have Carvana, we do have a company called Canada Drives with the little car trailer. And Larry, you're on screen. Your elbow looks great, buddy.
Doing business. Bill would be proud of me doing business.
There you go. But you made a very good point there. Who do they call if there's something there? Well, they call some person who's, really probably less pleasant to deal with than Tiffany's Brook. And it's like, where does somebody care?
Well, if they're not, Jeff, to that point, if they're not employed in the location where the car came from for the purpose of retaining that customer for the next sale, what's the likelihood that their enthusiasm for resolving the issue when the pin is pulled from the grenade and handed to that person on the other side of the phone, what's the likelihood they're going to have the same enthusiasm as one of my people who getting next week's paycheck is dependent on today's decision?
But because their business model is set up for conquest, do they really care about the next sale?
Can I concur with Bill?
Of course.
Bill, as if my life wasn't crowded or crazy enough, my band played on Saturday. I'm a musician. Jeff says I just have too much time on my hands. And usually when we're done with the band, we go out and get some pizza. And no, Ian, we don't imbibe any liquor, okay? People you want. And the last few times we went, it was pretty easy to get a table. Man, we wound up taking pizza out because there was about 42 million people in this restaurant. People want to be around people. People want to be around professional people who show concern. What Bill and Jeff both said is diamonds. It's not about the sale. It's about the sale after the sale and the next sale. And you're not going to get that if you have an unhappy customer or a frustrated customer. Again, Bill said it beautifully. What looks too easy, 10 minutes, often is too easy. So I don't really fear them. I also contemplate how much they spent and what's the net effect of it going to be. I know that ultimately the manufacturers are sitting around with little wizard hats figuring out ways to make dealers go away. It ain't happening yet. Right now, people need us. They like the contact. They like humanity. The only thing we have to learn is the lessons from COVID, which is we do have to be even better on the internet. And we do have to make this very, very easy. It was just on another podcast, no disrespect, and they were talking about what the business model is of the future, and we've seen it. It's Amazon. Make this thing so darn easy that even people that don't like Amazon or resent their size still go to Amazon because we're all busy and we all have a million things on our mind, and it's great to hit 2 buttons, and the next thing you know, something's at your house. But Bill, I hate to equate you and I since I'm a little more mentally unstable than you, but I think completely, this is the people business, not the car business. And being able to deal with people and touch it and feel it. I'm not sure if they didn't bite off a little more than they could chew. And I think as we get back into people coming into our showrooms and feeling the warmth, and hopefully we've learned a bunch of lessons, I think our position is going to get even more entrenched. Don't you, Bill?
I do. Just one quick thing that I think it's something that I do that I know is crazy, but since I've been a dealer for years, when I do a TV commercial myself, or I do a radio commercial or videos, Facebook or anything, if you look up my LinkedIn, you'll see plenty of them. I always announce my personal cell phone number, always. Because the first question people ask themselves is, if thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are seeing this, what kind of nut job would can out his personal cell phone number? Well, you know what? Dale Carnegie years ago said it best. You have to get someone's attention before you can gain their interest, right?
Here's mine, Bill.
Well, the bottom
Bill,
line
phone's on it.
you would be surprised how many people call me just to see if I actually answer the phone. And when I do answer the phone, I say, do me a favor, just plug me in as Bill, the owner, in your cell phone. If you don't know how to do that, I'll tell you how to do that right now. And what ends up happening is, even if they're not interested initially in something that we sell, they'll call me and ask me for advice on it, which will give me a 50% chance of turning them back around to what I do sell, or two, referring them to somebody that I know sells the product that they're looking for. And in either case, it makes me the place they go for whatever information they want, even if they've been to the internet. I can go after I hand out my business cards at gas stations, something that I learned 37 years ago in the car business, right? Because it is easier to pick up your cell phone and dial my number than it is to go online while you're driving your car. And
Bill,
I'll give you one.
Bill, I was going to say you're brilliant, because I am so tired of hitting prompts to hit another prompt, to hit a third prompt. People are so hungry for the human touch. But one proviso, Bill, I believe it's forbidden for you to be on a show with me, Ian, and Jeff and start a sentence with, "You may think I'm crazy."
Larry, because we know you're crazy.
So in essence, I'll finish with this and then I'll be quiet. So on my, which is hard to believe, but on my website, on my mobile site, this is something that the internet can't do. Okay. If you go to my mobile site, which is goldcoastcadillac.com, and you go to our mobile site, what you'll find, and I can dial it up for you here, is we have, instead of using using drop downs and prompts on cell phones, here's what I know. And I'm not advocating this, but I know if there's 100 million people driving their car today, even though they're not supposed to be texting and driving, 80 of the 100 million are. I don't make the laws, and I'm not a policeman, and I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do. But if you're going to be texting and driving, I want it to be with me. So what I do is, instead of using drop downs on my website, okay, I use toggle buttons. Can you see that?
Yep, I see them.
You know, it's very hard with your fingers, especially when you're driving, to touch a drop down arrow and make it drop down and then make a selection. When you hit a toggle button that says new cars, it goes right to the new, and those are easy to touch with your finger while you're driving and texting. So although I know it's not right, I know it's not fair and nobody likes it, if you decide to text and drive and you're going to search car dealerships, I want you to get to me. I want to make it easy for you to do, even if you're not doing the right thing, I want you to be able to get to me if you choose not to do so whatever it is, I'm going to make sure I'm around every corner. I'm going to make sure I do things on an outreach basis that Carvana and Vroom cannot do. So that doesn't make me the best. And probably I have to do all these things because there's a lot of things I'm really not that good at, but it works.
I want to segue here a little bit because Bill, you brought up about people and everything else. And a gentleman that I'm getting friendly with just online, etc., and is Michael Cirillo of Flex Dealer. And unrelated to the company, because he does a podcast too, he posted something the other day about looking for a new car. And he sent out leads to 10 dealers. And of course, part of this, I'm sure, is he's looking to see what's going on. And I think perhaps, because I've never done it, but where Carvana and the other people are really succeeding is responding. And out of the 10 leads, he got, I believe it's 2 autoresponders and 1 live responder. And the live response was, "Hey, my name's Jim, call me." And it came into a whole big thing. And then he expanded that up to about 30. And the results were actually worse than better. And this became quite a conversation about what's happening. Larry, I think you even mentioned something on that thread, but
Jeff, in fairness, we've been avoiding Tiffany. Maybe she has some thoughts. Or anyone else on the call. Go ahead, Tiffany.
I don't know if you were picking up on my cues, but I have some thoughts. There's a few things that have already been talked about on the call that I don't disagree with. I agree that consumers want to interact with people. I think that they form more of a trust, and the relationship portion of the buying process is important. I would never buy a car or an expensive purse or a phone over the internet completely. I would want to touch it, see it, feel it, test drive it, whatever the case is. However, I think we have to look at our pool of buyers, and the largest population of people buying cars right now are millennials and Gen Zers. I mean, that's who they are, and that's who they're going to be more and more in the future. And that pool of buyers are more comfortable starting out, at least online. And that piece of the process needs to be convenient, seamless, and it needs to make them feel like they can trust the person that they're interacting with, or the company that they're interacting with. And I think, to your point, that's where, with the example of the person who submitted all those leads, that's where Carvana and Vroom do it better in a lot of cases. And I think that their acquisition of ADESA allows them to be more nimble. I mean, if you think about it, with the acquisition, they're going to have 78% of the U.S. population is going to be within 100 miles of a Carvana or an ADESA location. So they're going to be able to more quickly respond to concerns or needs or issues where they might need to change out vehicles. They're going to be able to improve their delivery times. Right. So that's something that we kind of need to look at. The consumers, the largest amount of people buying cars now, and most certainly 5 years from now, 10 years from now, are going to be people who want to start online first. We need to improve our online process and relationship building to have a leg up over the other guys, because pretty soon they're going to be able to be more nimble, like the dealerships are, whenever there are issues or challenges that come up with vehicle purchase. So I think that's something that we have to take into consideration. While we want to interact with people, we've got to improve the online process and relationship portion of it, or we might be in trouble.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Tiffany, I agree with you, but can I just throw a comment in here? I don't want to sound too old school. You happen to be 100% correct. The only thing I'm trying to interject kind of sideways is, if you're not quick to respond, you're done. If there's not an intelligence response, but I'd like to also see a more human response.
I agree.
Because as you've probably figured out, I am really not good on scripts. I've got my own company, but if I sold my company and had to work for Joe Verdi, he'd fire me the first day because I couldn't read off a piece of paper. What the hell is wrong with a BDC person saying, you know what, you seem really nice. I know I hate it when people give me the runaround. I'm going to avoid all that. And that's what every BDC person's thinking. But instead of saying it like a human, they read off a robot. We are here to service your needs, Will Robinson. It's nonsense. So I'm actually on your side, and I know Bill's on your side. Bill, I knew Ed Fletcher. I rode through the desert with him on a Cadillac trip for a billion years.
I gotta pipe in. I gotta pipe in here because I heard two. I heard two very, really good commentaries. Tiffany, you are 1,000% correct. The one thing that nobody sees coming in all of this is Vroom and Carvana, particularly, started out doing something different than we did, speed with the customer, speed of delivery, right? But what they're actually doing now is their long-term is to become a retailer out of those locations. They're actually going in the other direction. That's where they're going. So
because 95% of the buyers, when they get to the point of purchase, bail because they're right.
Well,
People
that
who
was
start
my next.
online.
That was
They
my
don't
next
buy
comment.
usually online.
100%. That was my next comment. See, what they're
They
doing
want to
is
come in.
they worked on all the things the dealers do poorly at point of contact.
Yes.
And I was very fortunate knowing nothing about the digital world because I'm 60 years old. I 10 years ago I started studying this because I knew I was becoming a dinosaur really fast. But what I did find out was that the digital world essentially is like the newspaper to someone 40 years ago, right? And that's where they do all their research. If you can deliver on what they see, or at least verbalize to the customer, first of all, you got to be first to the customer. Then your message has to be engaging when you get to the customer. And once you've engaged them and you establish a rapport, whether it's over the phone, over text messages, doesn't matter. Once you get beyond that, then the whole goal is to elevate them to live contact so you can ingratiate yourself to the customer. We're not perfect, but you'd be very surprised here at our store. This is an area where I agree with you 1,000%, and that's exactly how we operate. My BDC is right next to me on the other side of that glass. I can hear everything that they say, and our BDC is geared towards make sure that you understand the philosophy of engaging the customer with your information, rather than how to just like Larry was saying, sound like danger, warning. We don't want that. We don't want that. What we want is a conversation that flows so that the customer, we want everything but what they see on those TV commercials. We want them to get on the phone and say, this isn't what I saw in the Super Bowl commercial. But we got to get them to that place by doing what you said. Got to get to them fast. Got to have a good engagement.
I couldn't agree with you more. And a couple of things that Larry said, and I mean, Proactive Dealer Solutions, we are historically known as BDC experts. We're the get them in guys. Read the script. Don't veer off the script. That's not who we are anymore. And the reason for that is because you have to evolve with the marketplace. So the training that we deliver to BDCs today is not use this script. It's have a roadmap. Understand what your tools are in your toolbox. If somebody says this, know that you can go this place or that place. Right. You have to train people to have a roadmap, have a guide, have some, word tracks in their pocket that they can pull on when it's necessary. But for the most part, you've got to train a BDC to, especially if it's responding to internet leads, like your example that you gave, submitted 10 leads, got 2 autoresponders, one that said, hi, my name is Jim. We teach our BDC agents, salespeople, whoever it is that's responsible for responding to an inquiry, to read the lead before you proceed. What are they asking? Respond in a way that gives them a reason to want to reply back to you. Here's the answer to your question. Or
Tiff,
at least here's me addressing that question.
And
don't answer
next.
Don't
Tiffany,
answer
I got to
question
jump
with a
in.
question.
You're speaking the gospel of Larry, which might be a little scary for you since I'm deranged.
It is a little.
When I teach, well, thank you. I appreciate that endorsement of my mental instability. Bad enough, Ian and Jeff beat me up. When I teach my training class, which if I haven't mentioned, Bill, is the most effective training class on earth. You said you're 60, maybe a little hard of hearing. I just wanted to reinforce that in case you guys need a spring when the lot's filled up again. The first thing I I'm sorry, Bill, I love you. The first thing I teach is people that watch me, Tiff, know I'm nuts. They listen to me for 3 or 4 hours and they're fooled. They think I get by because I'm a good talker. No, I get by because I'm a good listener. If you don't listen, I don't care what the hell comes out of your mouth. It doesn't mean a damn thing. So what you said about actually read what the hell so you don't jump into this cold. My whole career, Bill's seen it too. A customer tells a salesman, I have 2 kids, and he's not listening. And an hour later, he says, "You have any kids?" "Yes, stupid. I have the same two I had an hour ago. I didn't put them on eBay." Okay. It's all, see, let me tell you why you're good, Tiffany, and it's a pleasure meeting you. You're human. I've met some people from some of these companies that sound like robots. So if you're a robot, you're going to teach people to be robotic. You sound like a smart human being that knows how to engage, knows how to be charming and funny and to listen. So really, the funny thing is, even you, and Bill are approaching it differently. We're winding up in the same spot. You got to be nimble. You got to listen. You've got to engage. And the cool thing is, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. Bill, explain to her what it was like when we tried to sell the Alante. And there was one Alante each dealer had, and when you pulled the top down, it used to rip. The more you worked on it, the better you got. So I know this is scary, Tiffany, but I believe in you. By the way, Ian and Jeff, both Bill and Tiffany agreed with me. I'm hanging up. I'm not going to call anymore. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead.
No. Stay.
I don't believe that for a second. I want to interject one more time here because I love this conversation. There's a couple of old school values that still pertain to everything we're talking about. A, the early bird gets the worm, right? Even in Tiffany's world, Larry's world, we got to be there. We got to be there first. If we're not there first, we reduce our opportunities. That's number one. Number two, what Tiffany was talking about is and we teach our people here, you can't answer a customer's question with a question. That's the fastest way to turn them off.
Yep.
You got to answer a question with an answer. And it's got to add, if you're not kicking the can down the road by adding value with every question and answer, if you're not advancing the possibility for an appointment or the possibility of a sale with value-based questions and answers. Remember, you're not the only one looking for value on the call or on the email. The customer's looking for the value. They were the initial one to ask for value and information. So when we start out with a question on an Escalade, for example, well, where do you live? Well, okay, enough is enough. That's not what I'm asking you. You know, so we teach our people right out of the box. First thing you do is make sure after you introduce yourself, answer the customer's initial question, because if you give them the impression from square one that you're not going to answer a question when they answer it, they go tilt and they're out. They might not tell you they've gone tilt. They might give you another 15 minutes to BS them up and down. But they're going to tell you they have to go to the dog groomer or their kid's got to be picked up at school. They're going to come up with that, and they're going to tell you, "I'll be back. Don't worry." And you'll be at the sales desk going, "I got a deal. 3:00 today. I got a deal." And you'll wait all day long for the customer. They'll never show up. Okay.
My favorite joke, Bill. My favorite
that?
Joke. Customer calls in or sends a lead. Great car, used car. Oh man, I'll be down. You make an appointment 3:00. Salesman goes out, starts the car, discovers it's dirty, washes it, dresses the tires, goes through it, makes sure it's ready, pulls it in front of the showroom. They don't show. The next customer says, "I'll be in 15 minutes. Car's out back with a flat tire and a dead battery. They leave it, they show.
Jeff, I got something that's a better joke. It's actually real and is a tragedy. When I do train, I just left a Quakertown Mitsubishi and I did a 2-day training. I send guys out, if you'll love this, not to say they want a car, to say they want a car for their sister that just had a baby. Now, we're all normal human beings. Our normal response would be boy or a girl. Is it her first? And then Bill loves a good business question. Is it her first child? Do you need a third row seat or whatever? All over the country. Where is she? What's her credit like? What's your credit like? Tell her to come back. I can't drive without her. I mean, you talk about, again, I can't agree anymore with these two. When you're not listening, when you're not thinking, when you're not engaging, I don't care if you're Carvana, I don't care who you are, you're not going anywhere.
Well, I think it's also part of us as an industry, rethinking what is the goal, right? When you get a lead, your goal in the response historically has been to get them in, set an appointment, and get them to show up. Well, I don't think that's the goal anymore. The goal is really to move the customer to the next step in the sales process with your store, because the sales process is different, right? They're They're doing their research online on their phone while they're sitting at work. Then they're going to go home tonight. They're going to pick up their laptop. They might land on a vehicle, possibly even submit trade information. Then they're going to stop. Then a couple days is going to go by, and they're going to pick up their iPad, and they might pick back up where they left off. So the goal is not necessarily to get them in anymore. The goal is to gain their trust so that they will move to the next step with you. And you become a trusted advisor or a product consultant along the way with them. That's the real goal today.
Hey, I'd love
Larry,
to.
you
Tiffany,
mentioned
on
about.
that note, I'd love to ask. Just we had a meeting Saturday, and we put up just a piece of paper, essentially, with some stats on it. 3 stats. So far this month, we've had 86 walk-ins. We've had 130 inbound phone calls and 950 internet leads.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you close 50% of your walk-ins, that's 40 some cars, right? If you close 30% of your phone calls, that's 70 cars. If you close 15% of your internet leads, it's 150 cars. 15%.
Yeah.
So where should our focus? The walk-ins, unless you set, they've already decided they're buying a car from you.
Right.
Okay, unless you piss them off, they're buying a car from you. If phone calls are people who have already elevated themselves or looked past the internet, so your chances of selling them a car, if you give them the information they're looking for, is relatively high because they don't mind talking to a human being. They've already gotten past the Vroom commercials from the Super Bowl. The internet leads, that's where our focus needs to be. Like you said, we have to be able to answer their questions, get quick engagement. And here's one of the questions that we ask, and one of the little nuggets that's helped me out. We ask a customer, once we have engagement, would you like to proceed to the buying process, or are there still some questions that we need to answer before you're able to make an educated decision for yourself? And it's so effective because the customers actually come out and tell us, some will say, I'm prepared to move to the buying process. I just need to know, and we know from the showroom floor, right? If the customer says, well, it depends on the price, we know that's a buying sign. If the customer says, I have a few more questions I need to have answered before I make that buying decision, well, then it's game on, and we're kicking the can down the road by getting them to answer one of those 2 questions, because what we know is every single person, the only 100% we know about our business is that 100% of the people that inquire are interested in buying something. That's the 100% we know. You may be 15 years old typing away in your mother's basement, but you're still interested. So we weed those guys out by asking the same questions. But when you ask that question of a customer, are you ready to proceed to the buying process? We can certainly deliver to your home if you're at that point. Or are there questions that you need to have answered before we advance to that place? Customers will, because you've given them their out, right? Their out is, I want more information. Great. You've already answered their first question, so they know you're going to provide that information. So psychologically, you're a positive when it comes to kicking the can down the road with the customer too. That has been a big, big help for us in terms of home delivery, people actually wanting to come in versus not wanting to come in, and our positive engagement. So that, I would say that above every other thing we say to a customer on the internet, probably has added more to what we do here. And we do a lot here, but more than what we do here than anything else that we do on the internet, because it sets the BDC agent or the salesperson up for the right frame of mind moving forward in his thought process or her thought process.
I think it's a great word track. I'll give you one better.
I'm gonna need therapy after this question, after this answer, by the way.
You got the Car Guy Coffee podcast joined us.
There you go. Welcome, Luke.
Let me introduce you around because Ian and Jeff are feeling a little shy today. I'm Larry Feldman, America's most effective trainer recruiter, and I'll be in Canada soon. The handsome gentleman in the middle, William Camastro, he is my parole officer. Apparently, my ankle bracelet was beeping. And Tiffany is very, very intelligent and very smart, and I think me and Bill are starting to piss her off. So if you came in and she hollers, you know it wasn't your fault. Nice jackets, by the way. Go ahead, Tiff. I'm sorry.
By the way, we're the hosts of the show, Chopped and Liver.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I appreciate that introduction. The only thing I was going to say in response to William, then I'm going to shut up and give it up to everyone else, is the way that when we're teaching salespeople or agents, if you're using a tool, if you're using a digital retailing tool and you know where the customer stopped in their process, rather than asking them if they're ready to move to the buying process or not, it would be depending on where did they end, right? So if they've submitted if they haven't submitted trade information, they landed on a vehicle, that would be the next step. Are you ready to submit trade information? Can I help you? Are you in front of a computer? Go ahead and pull it up and I'll enter the information along with you or on your behalf, right? So it's really, if you're using a tool that gives some insight, because we work with a lot of stores too, and a lot of the stores that we work with that have a tool don't use it. They only use it hopefully on the showroom, or they use it as a lead gen tool. And it's not a lead gen tool, it's a lead engagement platform. And so, if you have visibility to where the customer stopped, then ask them if they're ready to move to that next step and explain how you can help them through that next step in their process. So I'm going to stop now and let some other people talk, or I'll be here forever.
Well, I do have to say thank you very much. You don't have to stop. We love to hear from you, because I think you provide a very interesting viewpoint for us, because you're neither a dealer or you're just some unengaged provider. So it's a very good thing. But I do have to say, for the first time, I've known these guys for, well, I don't know, about a year. First time I've ever seen them quiet, the longest period of time I've ever seen Lou and Fred quiet, sitting still, not arms flaying. I want to introduce them, and thanks, guys. The Car Guy Coffee Podcast Solutionaries, whatever you want. Cool dudes with great clothes. Thanks for joining us. Say hi.
Cool dudes with great clothes.
Love it. Love it. But hey, how you doing,
afternoon.
everybody? We actually really only move our arms when we're talking, right? This is kind of a condition. We tend to move our hands when we're talking, but we absolutely love being here. Thank you so much for having us. I am Lou Ramirez, the Car Guy.
And I am Frelin Arts, the subprime hero.
And we are just honored to be inside of the conversation, excited to be here and listening. We are listening. We are sponges, and we appreciate
constant.
you putting the hot seat over here with us. But we love what we're talking about. And I want to just echo a bit of what my man Will Camastro was saying, is that 100% of them have interest, but we're also convinced that 100% of our customers, or 100% of customers, buy.
Yeah.
Eventually, they purchase, whether it's now or later. Right? They 100% will make a purchase, and understanding that that is the metric that we want to back into, and understanding how do we capture the getaways? How do we capture the ones that did get pinned up, like Tiffany said, at one spot? Where is that? And discovering the pathology that there is in that particular condition. But we're just honored to be here, excited to keep growing with you all.
That is amazing. Lou hit it perfect right there. And that's exactly what we do and what we want to do and what we want to encourage out there in the business is people dig a little deeper, ask more questions, get to know what the hang up is. The fact of the matter, and like Lou said, 100% of people will find a way to buy. And you see them driving up and down the street. I remember I had an owner that said that. You see all these cars driving? They all found a way.
All of them.
So even the ones that don't buy today, that doesn't mean they're not going to buy. They will get a way to buy. Even if it's cash, it doesn't matter. They're looking for a way to buy. So let's be the ones that educate them, find out, let's get curious and ask them questions. Let's learn what they need. Let's strike all the fear down so we could bring more rapport to them, right? Mm-hmm. The more rapport we have, the more trust we build, the faster everything goes, the more money everybody makes, to include the customers. So I think it's huge that we're talking about things like this. And I think I'm honored, and I know I'm honored to be here. So my hands didn't move a lot. So let me get that really quick. And
So let me ask a question. I mean, obviously you're dealing with a lot of internet leads, and when I managed internet department over 10 years ago, we were dealing with I think 600 or 700 a month. What do you see the increase over the last 2 years, and have you increased your effectiveness at all, Bill, in that area?
Where we get the biggest bang for the buck now. I mean, listen, you can spend a lot of money on paid search. If paid search is like a big fish net, it's like going fishing and you don't know where the fish are. So you throw a big net in the water and you get a couple of old coffee cans, you get a tarp, you get a burnt tire, and then you got a fish somewhere in the middle, you got to pull it out, right? So organic is obviously the best. So, paid search has its place. There was a time when everybody was spending $20, $30, $40, $50,000 a month in paid search because they saw all the clicks and they got all excited. Meanwhile, they didn't have anybody in the showroom. And half the customers were bouncing off. 70% of the customers were bouncing. Our approach is the way we increase, low funnel traffic is we make sure that when a customer goes online in our area and even on the periphery, that we appear to be around every corner. And what I mean by that is everywhere you might look, whether it's a little bit of radio, TV, OTT, we have a very balanced approach. But what really gives us the bang for the buck are those stupid videos you guys see me doing from the coffee cup, the cup phone in my car. I know it sounds crazy, but all those grassroots videos that I do and giving customers my personal cell phone and every message that I send out, including on Channel 12 News in New Jersey, which is the biggest TV station in New Jersey. When I get on the air at the end of the commercial, I put it up on the screen, and it just gives customers automatic trust. That grassroots stuff. Whenever I do that, it lights up my organic search results. And part two is every e-blast I send out to a customer requires something that's actionable from the customer, meaning it forces them to engage with my website. So everything it becomes an automatic landing page. In other words, they're getting past that e-blast. They have to click yes or no. We give free wiper blades if you do this. We get a 4 for 3 tire sale if you do that. And customers, when you give them an either or versus a yes or no, they engage at a much higher level. So we always provide that for the customer. So they'll click on yes or no to answer the question because they want wiper blades. But what ends up happening is it takes them right to our appointment schedule. They schedule a service appointment. They're in service, and one of my salespeople greets them, offers them a no-charge appraisal on their car, prints it out, puts it in their hands, lets them know what's going on in our showroom. And before you know it, we have not only greater search results, but I'm also boosting my organic weight so that when customers do search me on a general search, I come up higher in the rankings. So it's a lot. It takes time. It's a lot more complicated than it sounds. But we're this year today, right now, our search, our traffic for users and new users is at the same level it was last year at the same time when we had cars. Last month it suffered because we had 0 new cars. But what we're doing now is we're spending the money to bring awareness to the cars we have in transit now with VIN numbers, so that people are going to our site for cars we don't even have yet, and they're clicking on loaner cars. They're clicking on certified vehicles. If you don't get them engaged, you're not going to gain their interest. So I hope I didn't talk everybody in a circle there, but we do a lot. Anything a customer could possibly do with us. We have a VIP card that we give customers at point of sale. They got to scan the QR code to make their first service appointment, and the sales person makes them do that as part of the delivery process. What it does is it gets them automatically in our appointment scheduler. They show up for first service, but it also is a second catch basin for email addresses, cell phone numbers. If you take a job as a salesperson here, you're going to learn how to be professional. You're going to quit. We don't want anybody in the middle.
Oh, I love that.
Hey, Lou and Fred, do you see how smart he sounds? We're actually negotiating to come up with a hard liquor podcast car guy. It's just Bill doesn't want to sit next to me, but we're Ian and Jeff are working on it.
Hey, that's a special brew right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love
I don't
that.
know. It might work because Tiffany already needs some hard liquor after hearing me talk just once.
No, you all are such solutionaries, and it's an honor to be here listening to what you have to say, because it's true. I love that what you're talking about, because what Will's just saying there, honestly, to me, it just sounds like he understands that you have to have bait in different ponds all the time. Oh, maybe different baits, right? And if you're looking for that, you will have more yield every single time. It's anything that we do in life. Being able to be on top of that, being able to gauge that, know where the growth is. Now, by you doing these multiple things, by able to giving your customers all these options, now you'll know what works. You can't guess what works now. Now you'll know because you're doing it. The only way we can find out what works or doesn't work is by applying these things. Once you apply it and you use it for a little while, after 90 days, you'll kind of have matter of fact, you will have a great gauge on where you're at with these types of technologies, these types of new products, these types of ways to engage your customer at a much quicker, frequent capability. And I know that what you're doing is amazing. I love that. I believe, like Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So you need to make sure you're taking as many shots as you can and giving the customers as many opportunities to be targets. I hate to say that. I don't mean it the wrong way, but you know what I mean? Like they're out there looking for help. There's a reason why they're clicking buttons on your website, why they're looking at service, why they're looking at a newer vehicle, why they're looking at tires, why they're looking at all these things. Well, because they're looking for service. They're looking for somebody to make it easy for them. Somebody that's going to show them how to do it the way they want to do it. Right. And everybody wants it differently. Some people love to be able to do it in person. Some people want to do it by text message. Others, they want to do it by Facebook Messenger, TikTok, Snap. It's so different. Why are we not engaging in every which way we can? Why are we not allowing people to have accessibility with some transparency? I think it's huge, and I love what you're doing out there, man. I appreciate you for sharing that.
Lou, the reason, and Fred, the reason they're not all doing it is they don't study history. And my hero, believe it or not, is Ben Franklin. And he said this in the 1700s. This ain't a Steve Jobs quote, it's Ben Franklin. He said, when you're finished changing, you're finished. Man, if you're standing still, you're not, forget about standing still, you're going backward.
That's right.
And Thomas Jefferson said, "Hope is not a plan." But I do want to say this, because you mentioned Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky, one of his famous sayings was, when he was asked why does he have so many more assists than anybody else that's ever played the game, he said, "I never passed it to an individual. I passed it to where the individual was going to be." And that, to me, is how I try to approach our digital marketing and advertising, as well as the human behavior and interaction. You know, that's what we teach our employees. How does the customer behave in a certain circumstance, so you have a better feel for what's coming next? You know, and you can't do any of that unless you do the same thing over and over and over again. Because if you don't do the same thing over and over again, you don't recognize what comes back at you. If you change what you're doing every time you do it, you don't recognize the response, right? The only way you get good at a response is to hear it over and over and over again. And the only way you get the same response is to make sure that in certain circumstances, you use the tools, you say the things that you need to say, and then you recognize the response. So, you know, and anyway, I don't want to talk it to death, but the Wayne Gretzky thing, I love. I mean, be where the puck is going to be. Not don't wait till it gets to you.
No, what I loved even more about that is really even deeper. It's like Wayne Gretzky is such a leader. He knew where his team was going to be. Right. Like, I mean, that's dope. That's when you know your team is running at an efficient way, that they're part of the process. They understand where to be at the right time, at the right place. Makes it easy. It's almost no look. Whoop. There you go. And that's beautiful, man. I appreciate you for sharing that quote.
That's also reducing the options, right? Because there's so many options out there. And that's where we help the customer out the most, is by reducing the amount of clutter that's out there from what they're going to pick out. Like if we did it real quick, we ran this up. Let's see, Tiffany, what do you prefer, dark or medium roast? Medium. Okay. Bill, what about you?
I prefer a dark roast.
Okay. Harry? There he is.
He's muted. I'll speak for Harry. We like iced tea. We like to be contrarian. Sorry about that.
I love it.
Okay. Nice, right? So you throw in a different option. So to show that, right, that is going to weed out whether or not you're even my client, a person I need to market to. I don't have a tea right now, right? And if I want to communicate with you, then I will pitch my tea options to you. But until then, I have two options. Do you prefer medium or dark? Here's this. And inside of automotive, and especially in the digital realm, we are catching up to what coaches and many marketers have been doing on social media nonstop. And you might be part of one today. Click on it and be given two options and choose one. Given two more options and then choose one, and continue to flow down a funnel that is formulating a way to give you what you're kind of saying you're wanting based off of your initial interest, right? And inside of this particular industry, we have to be able to give something to say no to and something to say yes to. But where we often fail is we don't keep the conversation going to even say, here is something to say yes to. So our email marketing isn't giving them something to pick, right?
Well, before you got on, Tiffany and I and Bill were in complete agreement that one of the worst things you can do once you engage is not listen. And I'm not being a smart aleck. How much does it suck when you're at a Starbucks or you're at a Dunkin' and you order something specifically and they give you something else because they weren't listening? It all comes back to the same thing. You want to engage, but you better be listening.
That's right.
You know what? You made a great analogy. Why do people still go to Starbucks and sit down? Because of the experience in the environment.
Yeah.
Right. So they have a welcoming environment. How come everybody isn't in the drive-through at Starbucks? You can order online. You could even DoorDash it. Mm-hmm. But they've brought the best of both worlds to one location. I think kind of along the lines of what Tiffany was saying, you can get Starbucks any way you want, but you can also get a good experience if you'd like to. So when you order Starbucks online, your mind goes back to sitting in the lounge with the jazz music on your iPad. You know what I mean? That's kind of where that hybrid world is where we kind of need to be. We'll never eliminate human engagement, but we have to be able to, like when you go to a high, to get to a masseuse as an example, where they have the nice, the scents burning in the background, and they do everything right. That sort of, or to like fine dining, right? Why do people still go out? You can go order a filet mignon at home. You can make the same filet mignon you can make in a restaurant. Why don't we all stay home? Why don't we DoorDash the filet mignon? Right.
This is why I hang with Bill, and that's why I hang with Bill and not you. He'll take me out to get a filet and a massage. All you guys are giving me is a rotten cup of coffee, and I got the medium roast that Tiffany wanted. Come on, Jeff, can't we clean this up?
You know what, though, I have to say, you made a very good point, Larry, about people going out. The other day, you said you guys went out and you performed. By the way, what does your band play? What type of music?
Band's called The Real Fugitives. We play original rock and roll, and we kick butt. I'm not as shy and laid back with the band as I am in my normal career. So
okay, so are you guys going to come play the AutoHub party, the gala party at NADA?
Unfortunately, similar to Mr. Bill here, I will not be at NADA, very regretfully. I will be there the following year. I will have a booth. I'll be hanging, but I will be with you guys in spirit.
There you go. Well, no, it wasn't even that, to be honest with you. It was just a joke about the AutoHub party because it's going to be in like the alley of a hotel. But
wait a minute. You guys were talking hockey, and unfortunately, no disrespect, Canadians. I'm a Philadelphia guy, so I'm basketball, football, and boxing. But I read in the New York Post, my man Harry's favorite paper, a true story. A guy's playing for the New York Rangers, and he got knocked cold. And the trainer ran over with the coach, and the coach said to the trainer, "Is he okay?" He says, "Boss, he's okay, but he doesn't know who he is." He says, "Good, tell him he's Wayne Gretzky and put him back in the game."
That's a good one.
Harry's
I was going to make.
Do you have any comments there?
Try working with them.
Harry's like the old story of the Jewish mother. And the son comes home and says, "Mom, I got a part in the school play." And she says, "Great, what are you playing?" She says, "I'm playing the Jewish husband." She says, "Go back and tell him you want a speaking role."
Oh my God.
Going out with Larry is great. There's only one thing he eats: meat and French fries.
That's okay with Bill.
Doesn't even have to be good meat. As long as they have A1 sauce, you can bury it in.
Bill, you've probably figured this out by now. Dealers don't pay me to come; they pay me to leave. Here's your check, Feldman. Just go.
Go away. What I was starting to get at here,
Larry, you remind me of the bars I used to go to. They were so high rent that you had to wipe your feet on the way out.
Tiffany, the only reason I'm not insulted by that is I'm a car salesman. You can't insult me.
Larry's band is unbelievable how good they are, both their original music and the stuff from other people.
I'll tell you what. I just put a video on YouTube that you all love. It's called "Can't You See I'm Drinking? I'm Not Thinking," and the band's called The Real Fugitives. Bill, I write these songs. I pour my heart into them, and I'm explaining to my drummer the feel I want. And I look over at my sax player and bass player. They're drinking. They could care less. Their attitude. Lou and Fred is, "Man, shut up and let us know when you're ready to play." So they're thinking, "Can't you see I'm drinking? I'm not thinking." I flew to Florida the next day, wrote the song on the plane. Bill, you'd get a kick out of it. But me and him are a little more old school. It's rock and roll, brother.
I love it.
I don't break for rappers or Dallas Cowboy jerseys, just so you know.
So Jeff,
there's the page.
There it
Harry,
is.
you just got some hits. You got another hit for the 12 hits.
That's good. That's good. I like it. That's my sax player up front. Thank you so kindly. And by the way, thanks for having me on this show. My therapist says this stuff's good for me coming out of my shell.
So shy. Anyway, I'd started to just say when we're talking about going back to restaurants, and there's a very good point, and this will be the downfall, Bill, of these online only platforms, is I do believe people are dying to get back out there. And, one thing I keep going on is the big challenge for dealers is to find a way to fill up your empty lot. And I'm going to charge 10% royalties for anybody that grabs those Canadian truckers and gets them to park their truckers on their lots. But I do notice that, you drive by and a lot of dealers still, they're still just having the empty lot, and it looks like there's a lot of bankrupt dealers, which is pretty opposite. So, Bill's closing on a new house. He's doing well.
That's the one I promised my wife I'd get other than the one we live in.
Oh, that's the one you go to when you really screw up, huh?
Yeah.
Larry and I do a lot of work with a Toyota dealership. I needed a Toyota Corolla for a relative out in Ohio. I begged, borrowed, and he finally agreed to sell it to me at MSRP. It just come off the truck onto the lot.
Nice.
The day I go to pick up the car to drive it to Cleveland, he grabs me and goes, "Can I give you $1,000 not to take the car? Because he could have sold it for $4,000 or $5,000. It's a sad world we're in this industry right now. And with the Ukraine situation, it looks like it's only going to get worse.
I do have to tell you guys something. Up here, we have a bigger challenge than that. And a good friend of mine's at a Toyota store. And they are, by no fault of their own, they are exporting 40% of their new inventory. So people are coming in, Joe Smith or whatever name you want, they're buying the car, they're paying the taxes, they're registering it in their name because, here in BC, you can literally, the car leaves in your name with license plates. And it's in their name for less than a day. And it's loaded either on a carrier to the States or in many cases, a container for overseas. And that's further hurting it. And they don't understand that they can still retail that Tacoma, that Highlander, that RAV4 to a retail buyer who will come back. So it's
retail it and pick up a trade and keep a salesman engaged. Yeah, Bill and I know better than that, don't we, Bill?
We don't. Quite honestly, we cut off all wholesalers, all brokers, anybody. If you're not, we can't identify where you live, and you're not local to us. You have to have. Almost every car we sell now, if you don't have a trade, we probably won't make the deal with you. That's where we're at.
That's where a lot of dealers are at right now.
And candidly, listen, not Maserati, but Lamborghini and Ferrari have been doing business like that forever. You can't even get on a wait list for one or a Bentley. You can't get on a wait list unless you have one to trade back in or a luxury vehicle to trade back in. I'm not saying I want to do business like that forever, but it's the easiest way to weed out the brokers and the guys that are going to ship the cars overseas is to ask for their trade.
So we're doing work with a dealer right now which I think some might say is crazy, but I think it's ingenious. He will only sell to local customers. He'll only sell cars to local people, and he will not price above MSRP. He's pricing at MSRP, but he's not going over, and he's telling them, hey, I'm going to price at MSRP. I'm only going to sell to you because you're local and because your business and the community means everything to me. And I want to make sure that we take good care of our customers and good care of you, not price gouge you now, even though I know that I can. And I want to make available cars to the people in the community that I live in. Those customers will do business with that store forever because he's not price gouging when he can. They're going to do service there. They're going to buy from them again. Which I think, and that's being marketed local on social, on TikTok, on everywhere that you need to. Imagine the verbal kind of trickle effect that is having with his customers right now. I mean, customers for life with that store.
We actually have a client in California doing the same thing with the Toyota store. But I guess that the question is, if you're, and we actually have a client in the California market that has a Mitsubishi store. What he was saying to me the other day, which was kind of interesting, was historically they were more of a non-prime store because they're a Mitsubishi franchise. Mm-hmm. But he's seeing now that they're dealing with a lot more prime customers, which I thought was interesting. So I guess the question I would have is, in addition to not having the inventory you want and maybe pre-selling, are you seeing a change in who's buying the vehicles?
I believe that you're seeing a lot of that adjustment because dollar amounts, right? Yeah. There's customers that are spending. We're used to spending, we'll just say Toyota to Lexus. Now, I wouldn't really go to the Lexus, but let's go like a good mid-level brand would then lean into something that is now priced at what that Camry should have been at. Right now, they're going to go to that Mitsubishi. They're going to go to that other one that's priced more like what they recognize. Because right now, the shell shock is what that sticker looks like for somebody that's been out of the market for the past 2-3 years. They're like, what is how much? What? And now they're, whoa, wait a minute. What's more like what I was used to buying? And that's still on the higher scale, right? Your Hyundai and your Genesis are pretty expensive, right? There's been a big shift. So those buyers that are still good conservers of their money, that are still good stewards of what they have and realistic, and their budget didn't change, right? They didn't really get a big pay raise, right? They still have X amount of dollars to buy X amount of car, and they stick to that. Now that turned into a Mitsubishi where it once was maybe a Nissan, right? Or was once a Toyota.
Hey, Lou and Fred, and that also dials back in, again, this is before you guys got on, boy, it's nice to meet you, with what Tiffany and Bill and I were in agreement with. This comes in to building value harder than you ever had because the numbers are so crazy. I was telling them I send people out when I train to mystery shop and say they're looking for a car for their sister just had a baby. I won't say the name of the dealer, but I don't know which moron is or isn't training their people. But this guy actually said, well, I know she needs a car if she had a baby, but understand cars are expensive today. With saying, listen, I got to tell you, you've probably read all kinds of things about how high the market is, but I'm going to work extra hard to get you and your sister. We all know how to talk to people, or else we wouldn't get along with our brothers and our sisters. We all have the same drunk uncle that wants to, start a fight in front of the TV on Thanksgiving when the football game's on. We know how to pay people. Tiff, it's just amazing that they get on the phone or they talk to a customer and they forget every social grace they ever learned.
Yep, absolutely true. I listen to a lot of calls and it's not fun.
No. Guys, I just want to differ a little bit from, I'm going to upset the apple cart here a little bit. But what would be a good talk show without upsetting the apple cart? So when cars are available on everybody's lot, and incentives are $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and you're selling cars at $200 over invoice, less a $3,000 or $4,000 rebate. I don't see the same sentiment from vendors about getting list price as I do now. So that's number one. Number two, I don't care what price you sell a customer something at. If they're happy, they believe that their perceived value is actual value to them and what they spent makes them happy, you are never going to find the perfect price for every single customer. You never will. I don't care how long you've been, I'm doing this 37 years. I still have yet to have that happen. Because when two people sit on a bar stool, two guys sit on a bar stool, they talk to each other. After 2 or 3 drinks, my girlfriend's better looking than yours and I get a better car deal than you. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. If your customer is happy and you're there for them when they need you and you provide the services, I subscribe to this. The Ritz-Carlton, no matter what the environment is, no matter what the climate is always full. Always. They always know your name when you pull up. And you go to Disney World, they say, welcome home.
Yes, they do.
Motel 6 will leave the lights on, always has vacancy. It's the cheapest hotel there is.
Yeah.
So for me to believe that we have to sell at a certain price to show good faith to the customer, my point in that would be, when we're not selling at that, wouldn't that same hold true if we're selling at $3,000 under MSRP? Then we have to stick to MSRP because that's the only verifiable price that's got any sort of basis, right? So when we're losing money, the other thing too is when you're a dealer, this is what a lot of people forget. It took me a long time to understand this. I spend $10 million blue sky in a franchise and it cost me $800,000 to run that business every month. I know how much gross profit I need to not go out of business and to pay my people. Otherwise, I have to start sending people home and make them unemployed. So to make that money, to cover my floor plan, all my expenses, comp my people without stealing from them, I need X amount of gross profit, whether I sell 50 cars or 500 cars. Mm-hmm. Tell me what the right number is to sell cars at.
Hey, Bill, and you're forgetting the classic principle that when you make a lot of money on people, they love you. And when you make nothing on somebody, they go back and tell 100 people you cheated them anyway.
Listen, Larry, I don't disagree with you. That old adage, for whatever odd reason, applies. But I do know that, it's Murphy's Law. But I would say that I would submit this to everybody. When you're if your customers are happy, these are what you need, what I look at. If my retention constantly goes like this, if my retention is always increasing, whether I'm the least expensive or most expensive dealer, doesn't matter. If my CSI is good, my retention is always increasing. So my customer base continues to grow and my repeat and referral business continues to grow. No matter what price I sell a car at, I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. And by the way, how come in the retail housing market, everybody's willing to pay 40% more for a house this year than last year, but sellers aren't selling at the price they bought the house at, because that would be the right thing to do for the customer.
Well, I think back when I was selling cars years and years ago, and there was a salesman I was working with, and the customer agreed to pay full price for the car, and the salesman left the sales desk and came up to talk to us in the manager's office and goes, "What should I do, boss?" I said, "Well, take the deposit."
Yeah.
He just didn't know what to do because the guy didn't want to negotiate.
Well, let me put it this way: if every one of your customers that walked through the door said, "I'll buy the car if you go 5,000 over sticker," would you sell the car?
Absolutely.
Show it everybody.
Hey, Bill, can I drill down just a tiny bit? What I'm teaching and training is, if you make 5,000, 10,000 on a guy, and every time he calls you, you're there. You're his personal concierge. He paid more for extra service, like you paid a 5-star rather than a 1-star. On the other hand, if you didn't make much money on a guy, and every time he calls you're pissed off so you don't pick up the phone, that's the guy you cheated. Because they're not only paying for the car and the dealership, they're paying for the personal service. That's what we hope engages and gets them to come back. And then if you tie it in with service, you do have the kind of retention you're shooting for.
Right. So that if you're in a Honda store, if you go back a few months and you were getting 30 cars a month where you're normally a 400 car store, you don't know how long the chip shortage is going to last, and you don't know how long this market's going to last. But you have to pay your floor plan.
Yep.
You have to pay your employees. You have to advertise. You have to pay, the electric bill doesn't go down, neither do your taxes. So the worst possible thing you can do to your employees is go out of business. The worst possible thing you can do is go out of business, because it doesn't matter who shows up after that and what they think. It doesn't matter. So in today's market, I'll give you an example. We sell every car we sell at MSRP, every car except for Escalades. And in New Jersey, we're in Central Jersey. We are one of the biggest Cadillac dealers in the country. We're the Dealer of the Year Cadillac for, I think it's 24 out of the last 25 years and the last 2 years. And I'm not boasting, but we've won every award you can possibly win. It doesn't mean sure we're going to have a happy customer, but we have a good story to tell, and our customers do pay us more money. And you know what? When they leave here, they're not lined up at our door pissing and moaning that they paid too much money. They're not. They're not doing that. And to be candid with you, dealers in New Jersey and on Long Island and New York City, there are some charging 20, 30, 40, 50 grand over MSRP, and they're getting it. They're getting it. Okay. If I don't have a car, I can tell you I'll sell it to you at MSRP to take you out of the market. But if you have the money to buy an Escalade and you go buy one 20 grand over, you're going to tell the other dealer what a piece of crap I am because I took your money. I didn't sell you a car. So there's no perfect price to sell a car at, because the customers aren't going to give it back to you when you have too much inventory. The best thing we can do, I believe, my opinion, is to make sure that we deliver the value that we convey to the customer. That's what I believe. And if I can't convey that to you, the price, what's the difference? If the shoes don't fit, what's the difference what the price is? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the Ritz-Carlton's always full of people, so's the Four Seasons and Motel 6.
But it's all in how you deliver the message as to why. Right? If someone's coming out of the market who hasn't bought in 3, 4, 5 years and gets sticker shock, as long as we're explaining it's not, hey, supply and demand, man. Hey, we can price them this high and we're getting it. As long as that explanation isn't being given to the customer and we're saying, this is where we're at in the market. Here's the good news. The good news is that the trade that you're bringing in is probably is valued a lot higher than it would have been otherwise. So we're going to be able to recoup some of it that way. As long as that explanation is being given and that the salesperson is being a trusted advisor throughout the process, of course the customer's not going to have a problem with paying it. It comes down to how are we communicating, and is it a quality interaction, and is there explanation and value being sold to the customer throughout that buying process?
Tiffany, we're right back to where we started. It's about being human. It's about looking people in the eye and saying, I feel you, I understand you.
It's always been that way. You know, it's just now it's because of what's going on. It's just more profound. Matter of fact, it's the only way to be, with so much information technology out there.
Yes.
With this thing that customers can walk in and get any bit of information they want from at any second to catch you on any little itty bitty white lie you tell. Just be honest with people. Treat them like they're you, like they're your brother, your mother. And if you do that, maybe you don't sell them that day, but they eventually, like we said earlier, they all eventually end up buying. And the person that treated them the most, that educated them, empowered them, encouraged them, and did all those amazing things for them, they're going to most likely come back. Nothing is 100%, but your odds go way the heck up. And like you said, it makes it, the price doesn't matter at that point. Bill hits that on the point. I've the last 9 years, we did not price our inventory online. And it was the most, we didn't sell price. We sold an experience. We sold an opportunity. We sold ways, we helped people. So that was the difference. You know, it always came down to price. Everybody knows the price before they buy. It's just, that's just what it is. You can't buy something without knowing what you're paying for it. But you have to go through my process. We have to go through this. We have to help you. It's designed to save you time and money, whatever it is, make it fun. But the experience is what people pay for. The price of the car does not matter if the experience exceeded their expectations.
Price is number one as a complaint anyway. It's how much time they spent in the dealership, how they related to the salespeople. Was there any kind of follow-up? Again, we get hung up on that, or the people that work for us get hung up on that. By the way, you guys look really cool. Could you move a little bit and I'll kind of sit in the middle, get one of those cool jackets and stuff like that? There we go. That's perfect, man.
Anytime,
Next
man.
time you see me, Ian, I'll be hanging with those guys. It'll be the car guys.
That's right, man. We'll have a good time. There's no doubt about it.
Brother, you hang with me. I promise you'll have a good time. And it'll be worth the experience.
Jeff and Ian still on this call?
Oh yeah, we're still here. We're running out of time.
Just checking.
Yeah, we do.
Bill and I and Tiffany want to thank you for coming on our show. We just wanted to say.
I have to tell you all something. Oh gosh, I sound like an American, y'all.
There you go.
Ian and I view this as we're successful when we're sitting here quiet. And that's what we like to do, is connect everybody and look at all these people. I do expect to see a virtual Larry in the middle between Lou and Fred very soon here. And the only problem is you won't be able to get a word in as edgewise.
That's fine. Just like you said, if they're speaking, that's less work for me.
Pitch it up, check it out. Heck yeah.
Ian?
And since it's the time, anyone have final comments?
Yeah, it was a pleasure being on here. Stay healthy, continued success. And Lou and Fred, if you reach out to me on LinkedIn or anywhere, I'd love to connect with you guys. You seem really cool.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, man.
that.
They're
Thank
very
you, guys.
shy.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill.
Appreciate the invite.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay healthy.
Thanks, everybody. Fabulous conversation. We enjoyed it.
Oh, keep growing.
Thanks, guys.
Later, Tiffany.
Peace.
Peace.
Bye, Tiffany.
Peace, Russ.